going, bro?
It's going all right. I just received this. I've never seen this before. You possibly have. Have you ever seen this? Clive Barker's Nightbreed.
Nightbreed, yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen it, man. So I'm just kind of righting some wrongs, kind of thing. So a lot of kind of horror that's passed me by that I should have seen. And yeah, it's. I'm looking forward to. We're going to watch that a little bit later. But how are you doing?
Good, man. Good. Just relaxing. Finally, have a calm day off. So
Yeah, it's nice to be able to have a semblance of normality. Just relax a little bit.
it's been nuts. I'm gonna close these blinds here.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So where are you based right now?
Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada.
So yeah, it's the second wave's kind of hitting ourselves pretty badly as well.
Yeah, we're an older northern community, so we're not really big, and we don't really have a lot of giant bars or restaurants or things. So not a lot of outdoor activities to begin with, anyways, like the Cineplex.
Yeah.
So which I haven't tried. We didn't have that actually. So I mean, we are actually starting to get cases, which is kind of scary considering how remote we are.
Yeah.
Compared to Toronto and stuff. So, and that's why we were able to film a lot. One, we had private property, but the actual guidelines for what kind of PPE you had to use on set and what restrictions you had because of COVID and stuff were very easy to work around in a small remote area using a smaller crew.
Yeah.
So it's nice being up here, but now that it's coming up here, there are even a lot of production companies I've been speaking to down south that want to move further from Toronto and just large populace in general so they can continue the productions. So, but it's scary that our little town is starting to get stuff now. We didn't have anything, no official positive testing until about a couple of weeks past. So.
Oh, wow. So yeah, I live in a relatively small city in the northwest of England, and it's kind of it's hitting those smaller spots now because it's quite a student-based city that I live in. So it's a bit chaotic, especially if you live in a
You're in England though.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, northwest, just near Liverpool, not too far from there.
Yeah, no, I read up on everything. I actually, I didn't make an accent. I'm from Canada, so I mean, anyone with an accent, I never assumed that's where they actually are currently now.
Yeah.
So no, when I heard the accent, I read up on you. I was like, yeah, it's in England because that's actually everyone's like, where are you going for this? Like, if let's say you ever make a giant big movie, where are you going? Hollywood, and blah blah. I'm like, no, I'm going to UK. I'm like, everything good comes from the UK. There's everything besides the kind of the indie stuff, and I watch a lot of Cronenberg Canadian stuff. But and I do watch mainstream cinema, obviously. But I mean, I was like, no, the UK is that's my humor. They just,
that's great, man. Yeah, that's great.
You need something to shake it up out there. So I was like, that's where I'm going to stop next.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you're always welcome here, dude. There's lots to see, some great places if you ever want to shoot anything here as well.
I would love to. I would that's actually what we were just talking about yesterday with another partner about shooting up in the UK, but I think Canada is actually allowed to fly in Europe, considering the circumstances we're under currently. But yeah, I think Canada and Europe are still open, but that can probably go back. So
that's the thing. If you plan something, fly over, and then things get worse. It's crazy. I can't imagine that, especially if you're going on just a holiday. The stories I hear of people going on trips now, and they have the cancellation insurance, and they could do that. I just don't understand it. I understand, wanting a break, but it's...
And now a holiday is 4 weeks instead of 2 weeks, because 2 weeks of you have to quarantine your hotel for even able to enjoy the rest of your holiday.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So the funny thing is there's a lot of international students that are based themselves in Chester, and they fly in, on the same day, they know where their accommodation is, and they go to the university to pick up their isolation pack or something to do with their degree. But so they're basically going to the university first, then quarantining. So it's kind of really counterintuitive the way things are laid out, and the confusion across the board here in terms of guidance in different areas. As soon as you watch the news, you assume what you're being told on the news here, especially because we're not a huge country. It's going to be across the board, but because we've got 3 countries and have different rules, pretty much across for those 3. Wales, England, Scotland, it's yeah, it's chaotic. And this Chester's pretty much on the border with Wales, and their rules are completely different. So yeah,
No,
it's
I
very odd.
have.
And so my parents live there, and they asked me to water their plants in their house. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that now. I don't have to travel.
Yeah. No, I know it. I have people from the UK that I speak to, and they're telling me that it's actually apparently just getting a little bit worse for production up there in our country too. In Canada, BC just shut down their production, and they were the ones like 3 months ago that were supposed to be booming and taking everything from LA, right?
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
don't know. It's I'm at the point now too where I'm like, yeah, I don't want to travel anymore, so I'm trying to take a while off. But back, this is what's funny. So you're telling me you know Trish Leone, or you just
A little bit.
remember her name?
She submitted a film to the Isolation Film Festival, which I co-founded, which we did really quite well. It coincided with the Isolation Short Film Festival based in Canada, run by Stephen Mann, casting director, and we interviewed her for for one of the podcasts we did, uh, and yeah, she was in one of my favorite horror films, The Void. So we chatted about that. So
And
yeah,
that's how Trish and I basically started our friendly little relationship.
so that
I
it's
saw The Void in 2016.
mhm.
Boyd Brothers blows my god. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you
Blows my,
swear whatever you want to say. Yeah.
okay, good, because I have I'm touched by the angels a bit. So things may come out of my mouth that aren't supposed to come out
That's
of my mouth.
fine, mate. It's fine.
So Void comes out, and I literally. Also, my wife told me I do this all the time, so I gotta watch my fat chin. I watched The Void. I fucking love it. I mean, I love it. Like I could quote that movie
Yeah.
word for word. I love The Void. I come to film school in this city. I was in an accident. After my accident, it was like, well, we can help you in this area. You can go back to school. And I'm like, I'm going back to school. It starts been told me time. So I go back to school, and I find out The Void is filmed here in an abandoned hospital. So I'm like, the Void was? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, really? Like, The Void? Like, we're talking the Boy Bros. Void, like the Canadian horror movie, The Void. Like, yeah, I'm like, all
Yeah.
right. So I find out a bunch of film students were actually on it, and before The Void, with their marketing campaign and their releases and stuff, they didn't really show any monsters. And the film students from our class that were prior to me, so I was on here at that time, they actually took pictures of the monsters backstage and put on Instagram. And they just snapped and fired like the people who were helping them out and
Yeah.
complained a bit to the college. But our film teacher is absolutely amazing. She was able to control everything. But like they were releasing like photos from backstage that they weren't having permission to do, right? So I hear a lot of stories about The Void, and then Trisha Roney comes up to me and she's like, "I was on The Void," and I was like, "Okay, I remember you like the flashbacks, like your mother. I have to see it again to see you though." And I'm like, I told her, just so you know, I'm gonna frame fuck the shit out of this movie because I will stop and just go
Yeah.
until I see your face. And she's like, "Well, you see my feet and stuff." So she's in like my face, and she's in it, she's holding the baby, all this crazy stuff. She's sending me pictures from the monitor, and I was like, "You're in The Void." She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "We have to work together." I'm like, "That is literally that was what actually." I don't make movies per se in that fashion. Like I do add like the HP Lovecraft 80s style lighting, crazy stuff. Like I do enjoy it. I just personally am not it's not my style all the time. But
Yeah.
The Void is definitely my like top 10 like independent horror movies of all time. I literally was
It's not even just the monsters, which on in many ways on a par with what Carpenter's done in the past.
yeah.
Because you look at even lesser known things like In the Mouth of Madness with Sam Neill. When you see that scene towards the end of the film with the monsters running towards him out of this hell's mouth, it's an incredible scene. It's on for like 15 seconds or less than that. And when you see it's executed the right way, and that was one of the best thing about the film is that it showed up the prequel to The Thing, which I quite enjoyed anyway. But they replaced all the live action with CG as it's known now, and it's definitely something that's missing in film. And I loved all the characters. I loved the leads. What they did with lighting and the techniques in terms of shooting things minimally. You don't have to overshoot something. That's the best thing to come out of kind of indie films is, and indie directors that go in to do bigger stuff is they're super efficient and with what they squeezed out of that film, I
Yeah.
absolutely loved it. And it's so twisted. There's so much kind of darkness to it.
Well, it's like being an indie director and knowing how to squeeze the budget so you don't have to do these giant shots, but then they actually end up being more psychologically destroying than they would be if they actually saw what the core was.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
with the void, actually, you're saying about, I'm a very, okay, you're going to be the first person to hear this. I did it for myself. I do a lot of things for myself. I like to treat myself to small things. And I actually have a little small shout out to In the Mouth of Madness and Part of My Fantasy. It's small. You might catch it, you might not. But that's funny you brought up that movie. That's one of like, that's one of my all-time classics.
It's the atmosphere of the, like, Shutter Kane when he goes to the town. There's
Yeah,
something really, like, if you can capture what I think Carpenter's done it across his career, he's just not had the success that other huge directors or directors of his ilk have had. Because look at the timing of The Thing, came out the same year as E.T. It got just absolutely, I'm going to say it shat on because everyone loved this alien. Everyone's not going to love the dog that's head splits open.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's when you look at it In the Mouth of Madness, the atmosphere, it's like the fog and anything that has that tangible, like if I can feel what's going on in the town, like in Village of the Damned as well, it's got to a less degree. It absolutely sings to me. Like Hellraiser, when you watch Hellraiser, it's mostly in a house and what hospital bedroom, and then in hell to a very small amount. There's something, if you can create that atmosphere, forget the characters. If you can create that, then you're onto a winning formula straight away.
And that's why I have, it's almost like you follow my life because I have so much to say about everything you just said that I probably wasted days of your time. But
no, go right ahead. Yeah, I love talking about
with The Thing. So my wife, she's from a different country. So she hasn't watched a lot of North American films. So I was like, "Have you seen The Thing?" And it was like a week ago, and she's like, "No, I haven't." I was like, "I gotta show you The Thing." So she's watching it, and the whole time she's the most polite woman you'll ever meet in your entire life. Also, do. Partly, like you said, because your wife was talking about you to be like polite in that profession, right? So she's the most polite person whenever she gets scared. So I always say, shit, fuck, like really fast, like really, but because she doesn't know a lot of English, right? So that's basically all I heard for like about an hour of this movie. But with The Thing, what I was trying to show too, with like the void, and what I could not agree more is like when you're saying about that picture, you see this. What you don't notice is okay. So there's a lot to this movie. I can tell that I haven't really shown any in the marketing or even expressed really.
Because you can't show too much. It's a really difficult balance. And I liked your Indiegogo video. I think you've got to, if you can, this is the big thing. I kind of sorry to kind of cut you off, but when you show the enthusiasm for what you're doing and what you're talking about, especially filmmaking and techniques, I'm there. People are there and if you see someone that loves what they're doing and's passionate for horror, then that's half the battle. You don't have to show everything. That's the biggest mistake you can make.
I know, and I find too, it's like with marketing, like you always know, you'll like watch a movie like, oh, killer robots, and you find out that only 10% of it actually had to kill a robot, and I was totally picked up by marketing. And when I tell people, it's like when I make a movie, and when I make horror movies, right away I hear like, you always hear the top, Halloween, Jason, Freddy, everyone's like, who's your favorite slasher? And I'm like, I love slasher flicks, like getting high and watch slash flicks back in the 90s and early 2000s, that's a pastime, man. I love it. That's my jam. But I mean, nowadays it's like I'm like when I'm trying to explain my movie, I'm like, yeah, remember, it sounds like this, and that's what it's about. It's nuts, but it's more like the in-depth psychological character study that what happened to a person, or even something that's artificially intelligent or organic but not capable of having certain emotions. What happened to that thing or person if they're put on these extraordinary circumstances? So I'm like, you gotta remember, there's a lot of stuff that, like, my films, when you think horror, think more like, not that the movie's comparable to this one, but think like Silence of the Lambs meets The Void instead of The Void meets like Friday the 13th. Like, there's no alien coming in and chopping off heads. Like, and personally, I only write when I have something to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I don't have really, like, I mean, there's always that, person in your life where you think about, like, if you didn't exist, it'd be awesome. But I mean, I don't have a story to tell about, like, cutting off heads and stuff. Believe me, if my career takes off and 20 years from now I'm able to do what I want, and someone hands me $25 million, I'll make a slasher 100%. But when I have a story to tell, because of setting the backdrop, and like you're saying, going back to the thing, and that what you're seeing in front of the computer. So what you don't see is there's that thing that's called a warden is on the other side of that thing, and that's voiced by Bill Oberst Jr. Oberst Jr. Sorry.
Yeah, great. That's great casting. That's really great.
Yeah, so Bill and I were.
I've seen what was it, Lincoln versus Zombies?
Yeah.
I've seen that. I really enjoyed that, and he was great, and he was definitely one of the best things in it as well.
One of the things he told me was how everyone would call Lincoln, how he related to Abraham Lincoln in a lot of ways too, was because everyone would call Abraham Lincoln Two-Faced for lots of reasons that were happening back then. And Abraham Lincoln would respond, if you thought I had a second face, do you think this is the face I'd wear? Because like he didn't like his appearance. So Bill, like that's how he related that character really well, and that's why he played it the way he did. And I thought that was very interesting, and that's how he was able to relate to President Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah,
was having the idea because he was scarred as a child. He was telling me this story, and I was like, that's when you know you're working with someone who is absolutely A+. He may not be the biggest household name like Tom Cruise or anything like that, but when you're hearing stories about this is how I relate to the character, and when these are the things he's telling me, instead of like, oh, it's cool having a beard and waving around a scythe constantly, I tend to respect that a lot more. So with those effects, like I use a lot of practical effects. I do not use CGI. I mean, I need CGI shots, say for like
something
if I have
complicated,
to duplicate
maybe, or something. Yeah.
If I have to duplicate a crowd, or let's say I have to make it like take a shot of the city, but I need a building in it that's like this villain's headquarters, right? Let's say I need that shot. That makes sense to me, but nothing I do, like anything, blood, gore, down to anything like what you saw in those pictures, like everything I do is all set up. I mean, our production designer, Stephanie Maoni, I believe, and I this was her first horror film that she worked on, and she did an absolutely wonderful job. She one knows that like Cronenberg, and two understands the imagery in some of those movies. So like when it came to life, Bill, who was voicing the warden, is actually probably big enough to be an entire character, like Hell from 2001 or anything like that, where you actually were waiting to see how this character is going to react, even though it's just a computer or how it has. We're getting a little bit of organic look, right? So with Bill's voice and the look, I really thought that was a great match. LA is also a shit show over there.
Yeah.
Luckily, Bill does a lot of Audible podcasting and all that, so he has a recording booth, so that worked out well. But awesome. Bill, me, Debbie Rashawn, Alicia Katapul, and Whack-a-Mole other actors all signed, and actually I got the DP there, Michael Jarvis. I want to make sure I have his name correct, but he did Wolf Cop 2 and Super Good and all that. And this summer we were planning to shoot this movie I had in development called The Devil's Side Russian in the pandemic. So we did this film. I was still talking with Bill at the time, and I was like, listen, I have this film coming up. If you can do some voice work for me, that'd be fantastic. Because like, I think it's great. He wrote back, I absolutely loved it. He's like, plus I don't think, and I love how he says, I don't think, because we've just done so many roles. I don't think I've ever played an intelligent computer before. So he's like, I'm 100% in. And I was like, okay, so that's how we got Bill on board here.
That's great. And if you can, like, it adds so much weight to what you're doing already, because you've got your written word, you've got your script. But when you really kind of flesh things out, when you see actors perform and really take off with the characters, it really adds that extra spice, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And like so we ran into a little bit of production issues, like every single independent production I ever created. So I called Bill and I was like, listen, I got to change a little bit of dialogue and stuff. And, so we had to renegotiate. And Bill, beforehand too, was like, listen, like we're like, just we'll do this friendly. Just whatever we agreed to, I'll do until like, you have what you want. Like he is like, I can't even speak about.
That's great. That's really generous, isn't it? That's great.
The crazy thing I found out about Bill, and I don't want to offend him in the movie, is that he is a very religious man. And I know that at least 3 of his movies have been barred from North America and Australia for being so extra violent. I'm like, you ever show your family your movies? Just the good ones. Just the good ones. or like my plays, right? But he's like, oh, believe me, there are roles where they'll never know I played them. I'm like, oh yeah, there's gonna be a day. Yeah, that day's gonna come one day.
That's
And they
great, man.
see you eating someone like a clown, right? So no, he's super cool. And him and I were talking too, and like I put a little excerpt of it from a podcast where he's talking about dialogue, and that's
Is
what I was
that on
telling him.
your Instagram, the latest post or what?
Yeah, before the pandemic, I had partners going to podcast. We did a bunch of people, went to get them all started, and then the pandemic hit. Everyone kind of had to shuffle really fast.
Yeah.
So we're gonna pick that back up soon. But yeah, what he was saying too was I told him something. This is all dialogue, right? Because I know how you really like to act, which is odd to find nowadays. And like people actually just like understand, like I just instead of saying no, I could just like look at the person and do this kind of thing. So him and I had a big agree on that. When he asked me like, what would you do like if there's too much dialogue, like a student or anyone, my friend, someone comes up to me and says on set like, well, like how do I make a dialogue scene better? Like my answer always is cut it in half. Like don't just like that's how you do it unless you have a reason to have this, but like cut it in half. So working with Bill in a voiceover role where he has at one point, I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Moon.
No.
So it's directed by Duncan Jones, David Bowie's son.
With Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've seen it. I
He
loved it. Yeah.
Moon. So Spacey is the computer, right? And
That's
at one
right.
point,
Yeah. I loved it.
we were sitting with the team and we're like, should the computer screen? Because when I wrote it, I'm like, I'm going 70s alien style. Like you're gonna even hear like something come up, right?
It's
I was like, that's what we're gonna do. And they're like, okay, but like now we have Bill. And I was like, do you want to do some kind of digital effect? And I'm like, what do you guys want to do, like lawnmower man? Like stick Bill's face inside this computer? And they're like, no, like maybe we can do like something on screen. And I was like emoji from like Moon, like give him like at least some kind of like answer back he can do that's not said. And I was like, no, it's either like hell. And I absolutely hate referencing other movies when talking to people because they tend to get stuck in their head and you can never get away from it.
Yeah,
But
I understand your point because sometimes maybe it's some of the studios that see a computer in the system, they need something for the audience. They get scared of the minimal approach.
Yeah, it's yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. It's more like, especially with what's going on now and everything too, that's there. Like I wrote this script way before this happened, and then when the pandemic was happening, I found out I had an opportunity to film, and I ran into Rebecca Heron and Shishioni, who run one of Sisterhood Productions here in the Sioux. And we ran into each other. Actually, Trish and I ran into each other in Toronto. Wasn't even in the Sioux. At a Talent Inc. It was a crazy story. We went at a after party. So after we met and like we started talking and reached out, and I was like, yeah, this film that I wrote like a really long time ago, but it's about a Frenchman and a woman that are trapped in the house, and it's the exact same story. But like I want to bump it up, and I really wanted the sci-fi genre. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because you ever see Thank You for Smoking? I'm like, I love that line where he's like, I love that line where he is on the spaceship and he says, and they have sex, and he lights up a cigarette. And the guy says, you can't smoke in space. And he's like, yeah, but he's like, no problem. All you have to say is, thank God they created these space cigarettes. And I was like, ever since I heard that line, I'm like, I need to cross over that genre so I can start making anything I want, right? So I was like, we need to put a horror in the sci-fi genre and create so I can get these like a robotic organic monster. You're not gonna see them like you're saying about being minimal. So yeah, people aren't comfortable with that because that kind of stuff. We're at the point now where we know these things could possibly exist, right? So, and taking the old 70s and Ridley Scott stuff, like I said, I don't reference movies ever. I like when I have to speak to an actor and they're like, what would this be like? I'm like, if I'm gonna like tell you what it's gonna be like, you're going to do that and it's going to piss me off. So
yeah.
Like we developed the character for 6 years. Like what do you see in this character? Right? But the minimal look, I like not showing too much on screen. Like you're not like I like that what we were talking about earlier, which I believe is 100% correct for any movie. There is an audience that likes to see it, so I mean, go ahead and show it to them. But with the minimal look, yeah, no, I decided to go a little bit beyond that only because I was able to live within that realm where I was in control. And I know that sounds like, oh my God, this guy's just got that complex. But no, it was fantastic to have the opportunity to be like, I can do monsters like The Thing. If anyone asks, they don't even need the answer because they already know they're in like a different timeline, a parallel universe, different galaxy. It doesn't matter. So I can have this thing and I can do what I want with it. So I was, that's why I made the crossover. That's why I made the crossover a bit. That was one of the reasons. The other was it's absolute. I love the movie Sunshine by Boyle. Like I absolutely.
I've met him a couple of times. I was working on a post-production on a film in London, and he was absolutely. He was just finishing the post for Sunshine, and he was getting really pissed off because he had to deal with so many special effects because it was a really stressful time. He's had stressful, like The Beach and some other films he's had, not necessarily the greatest experience, but he was telling me that how difficult it was to manage all these different elements. He was being really open and honest, and I was just a runner on a very small Pierce Brosnan film, but he was great, and he was you could see he was visibly frustrated. And I said, I introduced myself in this place called Goldcrest in London, and we just started talking. And I asked him, how are you getting on with Sunshine? Because I knew what he was working on. And he could see, I'm just working through all these complicated effects at the moment. It's not normally my bag. I said, from your early career, it's but I think that's something he's not necessarily going to go to very often, because when you look at his early stuff, like 28 Days Later, like it's minimal. It's so effective. Like he shot those on a XL1, like a mini DV.
My first camera, because that was my first
just
camera.
With better lenses, that was a smart move that he did.
Yeah, no, he like that's the difference. Yeah, no, I'm glad this interview is from the waist up, because that and Sunshine story completely excited me. Sunshine's like my favorite film. Okay, this is something you're gonna hear from me, is that I call every film my favorite film because
you just love film like I do.
Yeah, you can take something from every piece of it, man. There's not a film I watch where I walk away and I'm like waste my time, unless there actually is like something I've watched where it's just something staring at a wall. I don't think I'm that kind of film. I don't think have the beanie and the scarf yet and the cigar and that was art. I'm not there yet. Maybe in 10 years I'll be there, but not yet. So with Boyle though, if you ever see Boyle again, see, this is the thing. I don't know Boyle at all, by no means. But I'll tell you, the story you told me right now, I would 100% agree with, and I would look at him straight in the face and be like, "You complicate yourself because you're so far advanced than the other." Like when the '90s hit, people always remember Tarantino.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but all you remember '94 is Pulp Fiction, but none of y'all remember Shallow Grave. Like that movie was the indie fucking movie of the '90s.
It gives me goosebumps thinking about it, because that was a really pivotal time in terms of my love of film. I really, in the mid '90s, I switched on because I was kind of old enough at that point to really understand or know what I started to like. And Shallow Grave is probably Ewan McGregor's best film. I think it's one of his best films,
Hands down. I mean, it was like, and then like Trainspotting and stuff started popping in my head really. But I mean, like, no, like Shallow Grave is, but that's Boyle though, right? And then now you go, let's get Boyle a bunch of Canon XL1 digital cameras that weigh 15, 20 pounds, let's say at most of what his rig could be. And let's let him film the zombie movies. When I found that was my first camera too. And let's let him drop the camera on ropes, and let's let him, because now he has full access to a bunch of these cameras, and Boyle can do whatever the hell he wants. So now he's taking shots and he's doing stuff that no other indie director's doing, but still, once again, it's getting overshadowed by another run of the indie thing. But that man always steps his game. There is not a moment where I watch one of his movies where I'm like, oh, it's the same Boyle shit again. Like it's like, you're telling me the guy is Shallow Grave, did 20 Days Later, and did Sunshine. Like, you know what I mean? It's mind blowing. That's the kind of career I definitely admire over anything else. The 20 Days Later thing, it came out on DVD. This is kind of I'm not a twisted person, but this may be a twisted story.
That sounds good to me. I love twisted stories.
28 Days Later comes out, and then it comes on, like everything's on Tuesday. The Thursday before, we're in Ontario. My grandfather passed away. I didn't know him too well, but we had to go to his funeral. But I'm like, okay, listen. 20 Days Later came out. I'm like super young, and I'm like, it's gonna come on Tuesday. So like, when's the funeral? And they're like, Tuesday morning. I'm like, sick. So right after the funeral, we'll swing by a store. Like, who knows where like a movie store is? We'll pick up 20 days later. When everyone goes to bed, I'll watch it. So they buy it for me. I'm sitting there and I put it in and I go looking around and I'm like, everyone's in bed and I go to watch it. And like all of a sudden, like my dad wakes up and then like my uncle and like, my grandma comes out. I'm like, I don't think this is the film you guys want to watch. It
Yeah.
sucks. And they ended up sitting there and watching it. They're like, that was a really good movie. I'm like, that actually was like stellar. That was fantastic. There's nothing in that movie,
Yeah.
from shot, sound to color to action to story that I would have changed.
Look at the techniques in the film. Like, when Brendan Gleeson gets infected with the eye drop, what a wonderful actor he is. And the use of the shutter speed or the frame rate, it pops in so many places, that film.
And that's what I mean about Boyles. Like when it's like Fincher too, and like let's say The Edge from you too. It's like you have people who embrace this new technology. You're gonna get stuff that's insane, right? Like when people always say you can shoot movies with your phone now, like the market's so flooded. I'm like, yeah, the market's flooded, but so is the clothing market. But people still want that one kind of clothing. It's like the market's flooded, but like when a Boyle movie hits, believe me, it's gonna be the first thing I watch. Or a Fincher movie hits, like if that weekend I have to pick between a handful of people, it's like Boyle's probably 90% taking more time, right?
Yeah, and he's when you saw, I don't know if you've seen the Vanity Fair Directors Roundtable. What film was it? It was
if Boyle was
not Slumdog. I think it was something else. But he had Ridley Scott. I think it was Tarantino, and the chap that did The Revenant. And he had, obviously, he was like super high. And he's the most humble individual in the world. And when I met him a couple of times when I was working in London, it was, just every story you've heard about him is true. He's just really great and super humble about his films, because I was a huge 28 Days Later fan, and I had something signed by him, and he was just like really kind of great that people are watching his stuff. And his it feels really fresh, doesn't it, when you watch one of his films? It doesn't feel like stale, like, oh, right, let's just continuously watch this director's films.
We're watching another Boyle. Exactly, I mean, it's always like, then that's what I was saying about Part of My Fantasy when Sunshine came in. Was like when I watched Sunshine, I'm like, this is a great science fiction movie, and I really love Captain America that Chris Evans. Like his character was top notch, and I love how Boyle pretty much gave us Cillian Murphy, which we should all be kissing his ass for.
Oh, but my God,
yeah, Cillian was before that, I understand, but like Boyle really blew that mother up. Like I don't even know what he had before that, actually, to be honest with you. But I love that character.
I think that was the film for the actress that plays Moneypenny in the Bond movies. She's great as well, and she's super versatile. Like in, I think it's at World's End. It's one of the Pirates of the Caribbean. She plays a voodoo priestess. She's unreal in that. Absolutely unreal. So
and I think she has all the makeup on her face, right?
Yeah. I always and everything. Yeah. So
I always see the articles that are like, you have to see what this actress looks like. I'm like, no one knows that.
Yeah. And I didn't know anything about Cillian Murphy then. Didn't know anything. And an Irish friend of mine that I worked with at the cinema, he gave me this early, I can't remember the name of the film. He gave me this earlier film of his. And I was like, wow, he just kind of blew me away. So yeah, he's just been great. And like when you see him in the teaser for Quiet Place Part 2, and you see his eyes, and he's got that kind of scarf on his face, and you see his eyes going, yeah, can't wait to watch this.
Yeah, I know.
Because of that,
he's amazing. He is absolute, and he can play anything. Like, I mean, I know he did the Wes Craven Red Eye. Who doesn't want to watch Wes Craven? People aren't gonna remember it. Like,
I enjoyed it. I was working.
It's not a bad film, but I mean, like, when you're talking about Murphy, now it's like Peaky Blinders. But I mean, when you're talking about him, like, now you're still going back to even the small roles like Inception and stuff, and like things like that.
Oh yeah.
But no, Sunshine was another role where I watched him, like Evans, like this thing with Boyle. You're watching this sci-fi movie, and it's the same thing that had a permanent fantasy, and these characters, you're just sitting there like, people are so different. Like even how the psychologist seems to be the most crazy one. Like his story is just amazing. It's a giant science fiction story, the A story of going up the sun, but the B story is just wild. Characters are wild, and then the third act it turns into a fourth one, and you're just like. And then, first of all, it's Mark Strong, which you never see on the screen. Which
I love Mark Strong. He's in the UK in I think it's
He's a god.
there's multiple cinemas. Like I go to View. View's a kind of a UK based thing in Europe, I think, as well. And Mark Strong does the tells everyone to be quiet in the cinema and tells them to turn the phones off. So when you hear his voice booming in 7.2 or whatever, it's great. It's like, and he shushes you to begin with. It's hilarious.
So Mark Strong does the opening theater stuff before the movie starts. It's like,
yeah.
Shut the fuck up. We have something similar to that too. With like Canadian cinema, they'll show like a bunch of different clips, like because we have like Ryan Reynolds will show Deadpool stuff, and then it's like he tells us all to keep our phones quiet and stuff. But if it was Mark Strong, I probably I would listen, even if I didn't know who that man was. Just hearing his booming voice, I'd be like, yeah,
I could watch anything he's in. It's just like that. There's an actor called David Morse. I don't know if you know David Morse. He's in. It's the same thing. It's kind of not necessarily a leading man, but when he's on screen, like, yeah, I believe everything he's doing.
And that's what. So a friend of mine runs a talent agency. She represents David, who was in American Werewolf in London, and I was trying to explain that to him.
Yeah.
And him and I actually.
David Norton.
Yeah. Sorry,
No. Yeah, I watched that recently. Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Him and I, like, I haven't spoken to me about this current project, but his manager and I were speaking. She's an agent, sorry. And I were speaking, and she's a friend of mine. She's like, I'm really interested. I'm like, yeah, and he is the kind of guy. I mean, and that's why I was speaking to Bill too. It's like Bill and I had a few other people in mind for this when I was speaking to Bill, but Bill is that person where, yeah, he may not be the leading man and say like. In a lot of movies he is, but I mean, like, let's say we had a conversation about this too, actually, where he told me he was at the cusp where they're pushing him, like, hey, we're going to make you, we're going to push you to the next level now. And he was like, no, because that's the difference between being a person and a product, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, he didn't want to take that push. So I respect him for that. But Bill, when he's on screen, no matter what the role is, you're always just like staring at him and just waiting for the next scene. Right? Like, Bill is that person that also captures your attention. And the same thing with Mark Strong. I 100% agree that no matter what movie he's in or what role he's in, he's like when he's on screen, you watch.
Yeah, I think the first kind of experience of the kind of character actor that I loved was Ed Harris in The Abyss when I watched that many moons ago, and then more recently, it's I'm going to check this out because I can't get his name wrong. The guy that's in he plays Quaritch in Avatar. He's in.
Wait, first of all, I'm not gonna lie to you. Avatar is not a movie that I'll ever remember. You're talking about the older
He's
soldier?
the only, for me, he's the best thing in it. He's easily the best thing in it. He's
the old soldier that fights again.
Yeah, he's in Don't Breathe. Have you seen Don't Breathe?
Yeah, he played. Yeah.
Where are we? It's coming up.
Damn it.
Stephen Lang. Stephen Lang is for me is that now. I absolutely love. I love watching his stuff. Like when you see the spoiler alert, anyone that's not seen Don't Breathe, go and see it. Is when he's talking with he has a turkey baster in the basement and Don't Breathe.
Oh yeah, buddy. Like, yeah, I was gonna turkey baster.
That was my in a really fucked up way. That was my jam in terms of I love. It was such an original idea for me. I absolutely when you see something like that and like Lights Out and you've got real ideas of a not of a shtick, but of the rules of the universe within a film. And Don't Breathe was just what an achievement I think that is.
And I guess what you just said actually sums up what I was trying to say earlier better. It's like that's what I always talk about. The audience can smell when you're not being authentic to them, right? Like they know like, this is bullshit. Like this is bullshit. Your movie sucks now. So when you live within the realm of that universe and you live by its rules, it's like, here's Avatar. Either you understand it and you just accept the fact that these things are blue for the next 2.5 hours, or you don't enjoy the film. This is bomb.
Yeah.
Right? Or it's like Aliens. Xenomorphs exist. Accept it. They have acid for blood. Accept it. Now here's the movie. Awesome ass movie. So that's what I'm saying too with me. It's like Clockwork Orange or anything that's surreal. Right now, Ergos Lithimus, I can't pronounce that name. He directed The Favorite, Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Oh yeah, he's good.
Like it's like here's basically the film: drama. Here are the rules of why this film's fucked up. Drama. The most insane shit you've ever seen. If you don't accept it, don't watch the film because like you have to live inside that man's rules. And that's what I'm saying about like with part of my fantasy. I guess when I was saying when I want to go to sci-fi, it's because I want to be able to develop that where it's surreal and but it's there at the same time. I don't have anything where it's like this is the year 2040 and here's what you know, like in all Scott's movies back in the 70s, everyone's just
Yeah.
it's like you're in space, but you still smoke cigarettes. Which I told myself I'm gonna have a spaceman smoking, but
Yeah.
I think it's the best idea ever. But that's what I mean. It's like I want to watch a film that you can actually be immersed into, where you're following the rules of the film for 2 hours, and the rules of your own existence aren't even on your fucking mind. Now that's a film. Like, that's like watching The Void too. Like going back to that, just being like, okay, and now we're going to The Void, the end, and back to reality. And that was a fantastic movie, right? And that's what I mean. I miss that kind of cinema. Like I'm into Ari stuff, like Ari Aster stuff. How do you pronounce the last name? Ari. He did
Ari
Midsommar.
Aster.
Aster. Yeah, I'm into his stuff 100%.
Oh, yeah, especially when you can scare people or churn people's stomachs in a film set during the day. It's an achievement. It's an achievement.
Oh, it's a huge achievement, especially with
When
how beautiful the wardrobe and production is
Oh
on
my
it.
god, yeah. Like the lead, I don't know the lead actress's name. I think she's in that Black Widow Marvel film soon or
Oh,
next
right.
year. I think she plays Scarlett Johansson's sister in that. But she's Will Poulter. Will Poulter's fantastic. And when that girl's wearing his skin,
Oh.
I was like, yeah, this is great. This is really great. It's twisted, and my brain will I have the obviously we all have this kind of protection filter. We know it's not real. We know it's not real.
Yeah.
And there's
But that's the thing, though. He'll live like that's what I was going to say about him. He will live within the rules of your reality,
absolutely.
and just let you. But it's not like, oh, this could happen to you, like a home invasion movie, or which I'm not really big into the entire sexual assault revenge movies. I'm not big into those. I don't watch a lot of them, but like
gore films for the sake of it.
yeah, like where it's like I know Wes Craven, I Spit on Your Grave, and then I watched that, and I'm like, I can't believe like the thing I'm thinking because I'm from a different generation is I can't believe this shit was made in the time it was made because this must have been like pornography at this time, right?
Yeah.
And then you watch the new stuff now, they just carry it on. I'm just kind of like, okay, I respect where they're going with this, and I agree. I know there's like a message behind it or whatever, but it's hard for me to watch. I'm not the biggest fan of it. But with him,
absolutely. Yeah.
He's not telling you like this could happen to you. He's saying like in our reality, these kind of horrors can exist if you're able to open up your eyes and actually see the things that are in your reality. He is an absolute fucking genius. He'll go amongst the masters of our time. But like I heard when he's releasing Midsommar, well not releasing, it's been released, but Martin Scorsese did like an opening or wrote a note or did something to say that he is the next upcoming like he is going to blow people away. And I can't wait to see his next one.
Like it's something the invention something machine. The chap that did the scores. I think it's two different composers, but it's Nightmare Machine or something. The instrument they use to do the score. It's like this. It's really strange instrument with multiple parts that they achieve a lot of the score with.
Yeah.
And when I saw Hereditary, I was blown away. I was blown away because
the Oscars
the trailer hit me. I thought, oh, that's really like. I know trailers aren't supposed to be all draw you in and you kind of susceptible to it, but when it almost achieves what it needs to and shows you just enough, because we all thought that film was going to be about that girl. We all thought it was going to be about that girl. Something really fucked up's going to happen, and it did, obviously.
Yeah, it did. I was going to say, if you think that's fucked up, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. No, and like as soon as I started watching that, I was like, yeah, this is. That's one of my favorite films, probably of that year.
2016.
Yeah, it was absolutely wonderful, and the way that film was shot, because all the dioramas, the way they kind of cut between the dioramas and the house, and I thought it was a masterstroke. And
actually, well, this is gonna you like this too because you know Rioni because she's in the Void, but Rioni was I call her Rioni. I keep calling her on set, not the disrespect or anything. She just has like that like team player name. And just Rioni, get over here. You know what I mean? So I always called her Rioni. She worked with that special effects company. I want to say I don't want to say the wrong company, so I'm not going to say it all.
Okay.
I want to say A24, but I don't know for sure. That gentleman who did that prosthetic of the body actually has it on his wall. She's telling me.
Wow.
I was like, I have like shit of my own too, but that might be a little bit too much to put on my wall. No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I wonder if like there's this like I personally do like I have so there are conspiracy theorists in the world, and there's people like me who just enjoy their own theories inside their head and never ever share them.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, yeah.
This
That's
most
the
public
safest place
moment.
to be, inside your own mind.
Yeah, and then I'll wait for some kind of public platform and go ahead and make myself a good answer. But with Ari and Yorgos, not the owner first name basis, but I'm horrible pronouncing both their last names. So Hereditary comes out in 2016. I'm like, best movie of the year. Boom. Oscars come back thing. I'm like, what a bunch of fun it is. And then 2017, Killing of a Sacred Deer comes out. I'm like, boom, there's my, or it's 2017 or 18, I think it's 17. So I'm like, there's my next favorite film. I'm like, the horror genre has now been updated. And then Get Out and all that, I understand. But those two movies, and I was wondering, like, did they almost have like a feud? Because you watch their movies, like you were saying, you're watching it, and you're like, okay, I almost know where this is going, and then you're like, okay, yeah, and then you're watching Killing of a Sacred Deer, and they're literally, and a lot of people don't like putting exposition in their film and explaining something, right? But there's literally a scene where this kid sits down across from Colin Farrell and just tells him the rules of the movie, and this is why it's happening, and you have to deal with it. And by the end of it, you're like, oh, he wasn't bullshit. So like these two movies, I was like, this is crazy. And then like Dog Days 2 that he did was good. But then like The Favorite was absolutely insane. Amazing.
I love that, and I love.
But then Midsommar came out, and I was like, holy shit too. That before I can't remember the exact order, but I was like, these movies are incredible. I think I'm gonna go with Midsommar. The Favorite though, I can watch that movie once or twice, but Midsommar, everyone will get to watch it.
I don't think I loved Midsummer so much, but I'll be because the way it churned my stomach, it'll be a while before I watch it again.
Oh, I know. It took me a bit to watch it again too, only because when you introduce it to people, you got to make sure it's one of those movies you have to make sure you're kind of introducing it to the right people. So
I introduced my uni friends, or first year of uni. You don't know many people when you go to university. And I introduced some of my friends to earlier John Carpenter stuff. And that's when I knew who was my friend and who wasn't. And we were watching The Fog. And what did we watch after that? It was Escape from New York. So it was I just wanted to watch. And we was about 20 people in the room. And I obviously I'm in my element. I could tell when people are enjoying it. They're not fidgeting. They're laughing or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was like, I felt... I know this sounds ridiculous, but when you love something so much, or a particular film, and it's kind of with you for years, it's when I didn't get the reaction I wanted off some people, like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to I'll watch other stuff with you, but we'll.
Oh, you're more like me. I'm gonna get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah, that's how.
You don't like Escape from New York? Get the fuck out of my house.
When I was doing film production at university, and we were supposed to bring in a scene from a film, and I think it was 2006, something like that, 2006. And my scene was the blood test scene from The Thing, because it's an absolutely amazing achievement in editing, tension, all of that. You don't need to see the rest of the film. You know exactly what's going on, and just the way people reacted. And it was like, because half the people there were making experimental films, which sometimes I like, but I was all about narrative and storytelling, and See,
this is what I mean. I'm like, this is what's odd now, just because I don't want to fuck this line up here, but I look it up. But it's almost like you do currently follow me in my life. So when I'm watching The Thing, I always tell people I'm like, the best line and best scene in that entire movie is the blood test scene from the couch.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, why is that? I'm like, because
I think I know which quote you're going to say now.
Yeah. That's if you know, go ahead, because now for some reason,
is it the chap that played? This is
the older gentleman.
Yeah, that played the president in Clear and Present Danger.
Yeah, and he's when they're tied to the couch, and and then he goes, and they test the person next to him, and then he says, "I know you gentlemen have been through a lot, and when you find the time, I'd rather not spend the rest of my winter tied to this fucking couch and
Yeah,
he
because
snaps.
he starts like plateaued, like and then
Yeah, and it just boom. Yeah,
but like
yeah.
it's massively underrated in many quarters, but
Oh,
loved.
you're right though. It came out at a time where it's almost
Same
like
year as ET, yeah, same year as ET.
Yeah.
Because I was born in '82, and when I looked at when it was my birthday, 14th of August, I watched a bunch of films from that year, like was it Tales of the Crypt or Creep Show, and it was there was a few other really good ones in '82, and it was panned because it was released so closely to ET. And when you look back at it now, I watched it the first time I watched it in 4:3, and it was pan and scanned, and it was the god awful experience when you see that film in that format, all destroyed that way. If you ever, do you know Sidney Pollack is the director? He did Tootsie, and he was in Eyes Wide Shut, where I think the prostitute dies in the
he plays the gentleman. Yeah, Sidney Pollack.
There's a thing on The Interpreter with Nicole Kidman and what's the other actor called?
Sean Penn, is it not?
Sean Penn, yeah. There's a little mini documentary on the DVD of that, talking about panning and scanning, and he fucking goes off on one about when someone crops a square image of his 235 by 1. And it's worth seeing. It's worth having a look. I'll send you a link to it, and it's hilarious because sometimes the experiences can be ruined by a poor performance or poor projection or something like that. I don't know if I'm going off on the tangent now.
No, it's absolutely true.
I'll give you. I went to see Tenet. Christopher Nolan's new film.
I saw it too. Yeah, when I saw it. Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about it, but I was massively disappointed with it.
Thank you. I was so.
I'm a huge fan. Right, Nolan is like. I'm not going to say he's Ridley Scott, but I'm super proud. Like I think his brothers. His dad
should have helped him write the fucking movie. What should have happened?
Yeah. And that guy, I've got to say,
John,
that guy needs fucking more audio. He needs an advisor on audio because the audio mix in that film is fucking terrible.
Okay, it's. I thought you were going to tangent on the story, to be honest with you, but yeah, no. I hear we have less VX shots than a romantic comedy. I'm like, I know. I'm guessing it's Nolan, but at least we're just shit blown up.
Yeah.
That jumbo jet scene was so unflattering. The sound of the theater, the shot, I was like, that's what you wasted your fucking shot on. Like that's what we have to see. Basically,
like that building that's added on with it crashes into. It's obvious it's not a fucking like the hospital scene in Dark Knight. Was it better fucking shot? It has this empty, vacant bullshit about it.
I know, but it's a better shot than what they use in Tenet for the jumbo jet. But I said the same thing. I'm like, it's like the guy gets access to, like, you can blow up a hospital, and then he looks at it like, that building there, yeah. What do you want us to do to it? Oh, nothing. We'll just blow it up. It's like, dude, make it look like a fucking hospital that's operational. Yeah. It's the same thing with the jumbo jet thing too. It's like that shot they're doing, like it's cool, but just the angle, everything. I was like, what a waste.
I honestly believe this will be a conspiracy. But I honestly believe that Warner Bros. Released it during COVID now because they knew it would be polarizing the film.
Well, no, I was almost thinking reverse because, when I heard the fucking line, we're in a Cold War, ice cold, I was like, I want to see who wrote this as soon as we credits done.
Like the end, this whole vacant building thing where it just doesn't feel, it's not a Tony Scott explosion. He can do them properly. Yes. It's like there's, is it the cityscape or something in Inception? There's like the island. I know that's in his dream, but I just, there's something I really hated about it. But the end climax scene with people going back in time, forward in time, that was like a paintball thing. It was so lame to me. I was so disappointed.
No VX shots. I'm like, yes, wait, do this in like reverse? This is not any, like, it's a different way of filming. I understand, but I mean, like
how many times were we told in that film the science by, the kind of like we were talking about earlier? Because
that's all the film was about. There was no thinking. That's what I mean. We're like, I was very disappointed because I'm not huge in that genre. Like I'm not like that entire action genre. Well, first he is the master like PG-13 PG action movies. Like there's no going with Dark Knight, standalone, Inception. He's the king of that shit. Why he left from Memento and almost up to that Prestige level. with the actual movie Prestige, not actually Prestige, but that movie.
Yeah.
Why he went beyond that and where he went, maybe that's just what he enjoys. I don't know how he thinks, but when you watch that movie, that is another movie where instead of Inception, where it's like, okay, you have to understand the rules, live in this world, but at the same time, we're not going to tell them to you, and you're going to be completely mind fucked. You're going to be making up your own rules by this movie. This movie literally was, here are the rules, and now watch a PG action movie that I wouldn't even guess in a million years Nolan fucking directed. And my theory was Nolan was, I don't know him at all, and I don't speak for him, and I'm not speaking anything for him. But all I'm saying is, might have been such a cocky asshole that he thought he was going to save cinema and maybe like really fought Warner Brothers to push this thing out. Because Warner Brothers when it started was like, dude, until they're running at 80%, we're not making our money back. And to bomb someone out like Nolan, but that still probably cost Warner Brothers like 200 just in marketing. We're talking million, 250 for the film. They had to make 800 million to break even at the end of this goddamn thing. Worldwide, he's not even pulling in 300. So I mean, like, I honestly think he thought he was going to save cinema. I don't even know why they released Mulan, Tenet, nothing. Blockbuster season was destroyed. Marvel at least is showing their stuff, trying to get,
Yeah, that's the smart move. Yeah.
That's the smart move, man. Is just keep being creative during the quarantine, pandemic, and then while we're getting better, just, show your shit that it's out there. It's going to come out. Do what you got to do with it. But Nolan putting it out when he did, how it was done, the actual story, what I came out thinking of that film. I love John Washington. Now I'm just pissed off at him. But I mean,
for me, I really liked him in, what was it?
Black
Klansman. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. I even trim the natural. I love when he says
I think
that.
he was. Yeah, I honestly believe he was miscasting it.
Totally, that was not his role. That's like,
and you make him look short. You make him look short by putting a huge, like a really tall actress, the blonde actress that played Kenneth Branagh's wife. You made him look really small. Was that a choice? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, when I do stuff like that, yeah, I honestly do stuff like that. But also, I heard he passed on her completely, and then he watched her work in that television show she's in, and then was convinced that she was a good actress, and eventually took her. I heard it took a while for her to actually obtain her services, so I don't know if he made a conscious decision. I mean, it might have helped out that she was taller. But I mean, even her, if she wasn't in the film, they're just going to have anyone to slap around and point a gun at. Other than that, there's no purpose. Obviously, when you see that one scene, the person dies and she's like, I wish I had that freedom. Right away, you're already like, who wrote this shit? Like, who fucking wrote this? I mean, you find out it's just Nolan. That's when you're like, and that's why you should direct and get your brother. And I know Goyer helped you with the rest of the shit because Goyer does all Warner Brothers like supervision shit. But
I think, but before we kind of move on, I know I love talking about. I'm all for being positive. I was never going in. I was going in to be excited. That's why I went to the cinema.
I was going in to support him, being like, you know what, it's Nolan. Let's make sure he crosses the line. And I came out, and that's the thing.
I was angry. I was genuinely angry coming out of the cinema.
Genuinely angry, but this is the thing about me. Like I said, when I said movie's my favorite, I'm not saying it's a shitty movie by no means. If I made that movie, believe me, I'd be walking around with my chest popped out. Hey, that movie's, and there's some incredible shit in that movie. But I mean, like, when you see Christopher Nolan sitting across the screen and you're like, well, you fucked up. You know what I mean? Like that, that's bad.
I was genuinely bored within half an hour. Because what you were saying about the PG-13 thing, when you've got, for me in the trailer, before we go back talking about the scene, when you see that scene in the, it's like a musical performance or opera or whatever it is, I thought, wow, that's going to be a mega set piece. And then when you see bullets flying and zero blood, there's an issue. There's a real issue. Is it a Warner Brothers thing? It's the same thing for me with Dunkirk. Now, he came up with an explanation about no body parts blowing up or anything like that. There's fucking bombs going on the beach. Do you know what I mean? People are like being destroyed by these things. I'm not asking you to recreate opening of Saving Private Ryan or anything, but my God, man, show the reality of it.
It's not only that too. It's like I have 2 points on that actually. So one, I tell people like they'll tell me about a film, and I'll be like, "What's it rated?" And they're, "Oh, you don't watch rated R films because you like horror movies." I'm like, "That's not
that's a bullshit
at all
thing
why."
To say, yeah.
What I'm trying to ask is, you just told me a very adult-natured movie. If it's not rated R, it would make sense to me to watch this movie. It's like Cloverfield too. If I saw that giant monster, last thing I'd be doing is going, "Oh poop, oh crap," and fuck that, man. I'd be pushing people. I'd be like, "Holy fuck, look at this giant thing!" Like That movie, I mean, but I get that though, because those are like the 80 movies, like Super 8 and stuff. Those were the 80s movies where kids were allowed to say shit and stuff on like an 8. I love those movies. So
Oh,
I get those
I'm
kind of
all
movies.
for it. Yeah.
But I mean, like, if the subject matter does not match the rating, you're an asshole. And it's like Kevin Smith said, he's like, you throw the word fuck in one of your films, you get rated R. And then he's like, and he's like, I understand the sexual assault thing. He's like, as far as I'm concerned, we should never show that shit. And I know Smith, he's had an up and down career, but he says, he's like, then you watch fucking James Bond movie, 200 people get shot, and it's rated PG-13 just because there's no blood, right? So I mean, I get to have because nowadays you can't hide kids from this stuff. Like we're all playing on video games, we're all doing everything. Like the 13-year-olds go to school talking about Call of Duty and shit. They all know a machine gun. So I mean, we let them see it, but they don't need to see the content that's going to scare them. But like at the same time, creating a false reality for the subject matter, and I guess really the subject matter in that film was they made these inverted fucking whatever the hell Nolan decided to write that day. But that's like I guess that didn't need to be rated R. But like with what you're saying too, is I agree. Is like there is nothing more I enjoy. Like even that first shot in Die Hard, the guy gets shot in the head from the window. That literally, as a kid, I was like, oh my god, that's what happened. Oh my god, that's terrifying. But then you're watching Bruce Willis carry the rest of the film, so you kind of forget that terrifying thing happened.
It's such like the 80s. That's why I kind of I wasn't I was the kind of a I was born in 82, so I was kind of more of an early 90s kid than anything else.
Yeah, me too.
And so it's when you see how really dark things I have an issue with. I don't have an issue with digital at all because I'm a digital filmmaker. I applaud the techniques. I implore, whatever suits you best. I don't believe one's better than the other. I really don't. I think what suits your filmmaking. If you prefer something, Nolan can shoot in 70mm, whatever he wants to do. It's a massive ball ache, but whatever he wants to do. And I'll tell you about something about Interstellar in a minute as well. But I forgot what my point was. But I've completely lost track of what I was going to say. The look of films, especially like Die Hard's a dark movie in many ways, super sinister, and the kind of aggression in the way it's framed and all of that. I really do miss some of that. I really, really do. And
well, it's a lot of things you don't see. Like you said, he wants to shoot in 70mm on IMAX, but like the 80s, you got to remember, even Die Hard, when he's crawling through that vent, it's such a giant scene. But like these are these massive anamorphic lenses that they used a lot back then for any type of movie. Yeah. Where nowadays, like even when I saw the new Batman trailer, I was like, they filmed that perfectly. And
it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous, and
it's like me too. Like if I could film, like the price differences are insane, especially when you're doing indie, right? So like part of my fantasy too, I'm like, I want to do I'd love to do an anamorphic lens for let's say a Cine lens from Canon that you can rent for say a 35 for 3 weeks. You can rent it for $1,000 or $2,000. Anamorphic lens, we're talking like they're like 20,000 just to buy, right? So I mean, but it does give you that look in a movie that you watch it and you feel like you're watching something cinematic.
Like I was watching Lady Hawk a couple of weeks ago, and it's Richard Donner and Vincent Storaro. I think it's how you pronounce his surname. He did Apocalypse Now. He shot that, and the way he lenses that film, I'm a huge fan of anamorphic, massive fan.
That's what I mean.
I understand why certain decisions are made, like in Jurassic Park, why they shot 16:9, and I saw this breakdown of it in terms of the height of the dinosaurs and getting more in. Makes complete sense when they compare it to the newest Jurassic Park films. They don't look alike at all, and that's obvious. That was Carpenter's DP that did Jurassic Park. For his earlier stuff, it was his DP, and I've loved anamorphic since watching early Tony Scott and Ridley, because the way they lens things. So this is I work on a very small budget, but I bought the SLR Magic 50. So that's a 2 times adapter for smaller lenses, and because of the character. And I've got a friend of mine who is in Justice League, and she's coming up from London. We're going to make a little short film about loss, and it's just going to be me and her, and she's comfortable coming up, and because I want to shoot something in anamorphic, like something really proper with narrative. And just to kind of take it back to your film, when I saw your stills, because of the the stills you released, the kind of one with the kind of the guts hanging, whatever it is,
Mhm.
was that a shot from the film or was it shot for marketing?
No, that's still everything you see is right from the video.
That's what my jam is. When I see something like that, yeah, and like the little thing with the hand twitching on the ground, I loved all of that. I absolutely I
Yeah.
was digging so much of it, man. So yeah,
And that's what I tell people too. Like, I love shooting like really cinematic. I don't mean like that Shawshank end shot. We're not talking like Veradon or Michael Bay or anything like that, but
yeah,
like cinematic, as in you actually think you're experiencing something that you believe in, but at the same time, it's something that's visually pleasing. Right? And I do believe a lot in that too. But when you're filming that, what he says, yeah, everything is right from the movie. Those are all stills. But like I tell people, like when I did my last one too, I was like, I'll do it on a phone. And I'll use moments. So I use our anamorphic lens because it's wicked. But then I shopped it around and I ended up getting more help and more investors. So we ended up doing the gear. But I was like, it's like when a filmmaker looks at you and tells you they couldn't accomplish anything because of their gear, you're kind of like, maybe this isn't for you, right? Like if the
yeah,
story's
absolutely,
there, you can. Like
absolutely.
that's what I was saying with that jumbo jet shot. It's almost funny to me that Nolan, who could
Oh,
tell pretty much any story, decided to take some of these shots that he chose to take, and putting Michael Caine that close eating fucking steak was a giant mistake. That was horrifying. But I
like
mean,
if you're gonna do the explosion, have
yeah,
have CG people in the foreground or some shit. Have it. Don't just have this
yeah,
big vacant, empty shot,
yeah,
and
and
you kind
roll,
of
yeah.
lose connection with what you're seeing. And when I saw the opera scene and people weren't getting shot, but it was more like a Bond movie. Like for me, I
That
accept
reminded me
I
of that movie.
yeah
Yeah,
I accept Bond because when I watched Bond, I was super young and I loved it all. The early stuff's really dark, like Doctor No's dark. Um, but when you watch the later stuff, and my first experience of Bond was, I think it was '95, it was GoldenEye, and I just accepted it for Bond. So that's why Nolan is a good choice for Bond because he's there, which is really kind of a horrible thing to
yeah.
say about him, you know?
Well, it
Um,
breaks your heart saying that about him because you
yeah.
know his like Oscar, and then he's the new Bond director. Like when Boyle dropped out, too, was creative differences. I could be like, if that's
Oh,
the
I can
reason
imagine.
why,
Yeah.
but yeah, but if that was the actual reason. It's because Boyle was like, I'm not doing that bullshit. Like, all right, this
No,
is how it's got to be done, or I'm not doing it.
that's
Okay,
exactly it.
later on.
Now, knowing a bit more about filmmaking and technique, when you look at that story again, you can totally see why those creative differences. Because
Oh
he
yeah.
wanted to make something that felt more like a little bit more real. And I think Casino Royale did that to a certain degree.
Oh,
But
best
yeah,
action movie hands down all time.
and like look at the scene, look at the what's he called, the director Campbell. He did Mask of Zorro and he did Goldeneye actually, but he kind of like if you look at Goldeneye and then you look at Casino Royale, that the director is just like he's really gone right. I'm going to do something different, and it's a real achievement from him. I need to find his name out because it's going to annoy me.
Yeah, I was gonna say grab his name. When you said 95 Golden, that was my first thing too. There's people always ask
Yeah,
me too, like,
95. Yeah, Goldeneye.
who's your favorite Bond? And I'm like, it's really different because like I don't
Well,
think people realize that from you told me. Like, I don't think you guys realize like how dark the old Bond movies were. Like I'm not the big. I have a friend of mine who's like an apt like Sean Winkler. He's a Bond fan beyond Bond, and tattooed everywhere, has everything, loves it.
yeah.
He actually got pulled over once and almost arrested for having a replica of the PV Walter ever uses in the movie. Yeah, this guy's unbelievable with Bond. But like Craig, we wouldn't be able to play that Sean Connery role anymore, right? So we can't really compare the two. But when I saw Casino Royale, I was like, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen. I
Yeah.
don't care if it's Bond. Didn't even tell me it's James Bond. I'll watch this movie 100 times.
Like I was getting giddy looking at those action scenes at the
Oh,
start when you got that French parkour performer
oh,
and the cranes, like the drop in the music. It was just perfect, just perfect.
yeah. Bond movies are always
It was
awesome.
Martin Campbell, but
Martin Campbell.
Martin Campbell did Green Lantern though, so that's an issue. Uh,
Yeah, there's a lot of other issues on there, but I mean that is an issue.
but there's
That
like Bond for me there's peaks and troughs for me. Like Quantum of Solace, I just kind of like
well, I heard that Solace was half a Casino Royale, and they wanted to release one super movie, then they ended up splitting it in two, and that's why we got one really shitty one, which I think was a bad decision.
that's
That's the
really
first time we ever
interesting.
saw a Bond sequel, right? So I mean, that
Yeah,
was a feat in its own, but they did not accomplish that correctly.
yeah. I always liked how they dropped elements in the earlier ones where who's the Australian actor that played Bond in one movie? Oh God,
Oh man,
Majesty's Secret Service. So when he gets married to Diana Rigg and that, there's a hint in one of the Roger Moore films that he's been married in the past. So I always like that kind of connective tissue, like the same actor playing M, that kind of thing. But I'm not a huge fan of this massive story continuing. I'm
Yeah,
not a
like
big fan of that. So
I think they just needed to have a villain that was almost bigger than every other Bond villain. Like he's in Boyle from there. What's his name? Carmichael, who plays the villain in Tomorrow Never Dies. Actually plays the villain in Tomorrow Never Dies, right? Carmichael.
The British actor.
Is it Carmichael from Full
No,
Monty?
it's the one's about it's the newspaper guy, isn't it?
Yeah, and he wants like, is it not him? I was young when I saw him.
He's in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay, but he was a villain that was like
Jonathan
John. When I watched that one after, I mean, Brosnan kind of stunk up the franchise. I mean, not him in general. Just I understand that was a full thing, but that was a villain that reminded me of those old Bond villains, where it's like I'm taking over the world. Like it's finally like another giant, huge story, right?
Yeah.
And then when they go into Craig, it's like let's just continue that. There's a secret organization, blah blah blah. It's like just give us our bomb guy that's going to drop a nuke and have Bond go shoot him in the head. In the movie, the rest of it's already we're already watching it because it's Bond. You're already making your $700 million. Why are you wasting our time? Right?
Yeah, and I was really kind of gutted how they wasted Dave Bautista as well, because he's got acting chops. When you see what the hell's that film where he's just it's almost a single camera shot, the film he's in. Oh Jesus Christ!
Oh, that's from like.
I loved it. I love that.
It's funny that you say that because the only reason I know that film is because I was watching Batista when he was saying that The Rock's not an actor, but he's definitely a movie star. And I always say like Tom Cruise is probably our last movie star that we'll ever have. But Batista's like, I want to be an actor, and he's like, that's why I want to like work with Daniel Villeneuve from like Quebec. So like, I want to be in Blade Runner, I want to be in Dune, I want to be in Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't want to be in Skyscraper and stuff. And Batista, he does have the chops for what he had as an act in wrestling. I mean, it's quite the polar opposite. Right? He is I was a wrestling fan back, not in Batista.
I was when Bret Hart was still fighting.
Yeah, like the Hart brothers and the Rock, like, and then the Rock and Triple H threat, and like that's when I was bigger into it, right? So I mean, that's what I tell people.
When I saw Dave, I know we're going to a wrestling thing now, but when I saw Dave Bautista, I think it was like a year ago or 2 years ago, and he goes into a room and there's like a fake assault on Ric Flair. It was everything I wanted.
No, when a wrestler like takes a jump in the movies, you're always waiting for that Tooth Fairy movie, like Diesel did, right? Vin Diesel did. Like, you're always waiting, and like John Cena did, and like Batista did.
Suburban Commando for Hogan and all that.
Yeah, but Batista, no, he has the ability to do some good things. I'm actually very excited.
Yeah. Oh, Dune looks absolutely incredible.
I wonder if Lynch is super pissed off about it, considering how bad they fucked him over so many times. But I mean,
look at Batista's scene in Blade Runner 2049. That scene is pure cinema with a bubbling food and like
and just him sitting with his back to the camera, see how big he is doing. He's talking to like he's doing the day, washing his hand like that. That entire scene alone, the way it moves and how he was able to turn and look. That's what I mean. Like he does have it. You can tell when he's being directed, he's not like. And you gotta remember, Batista's not named like The Rock, so the director's not like, well, you're just Dave Bautista. You're here to make me $100 million at the box office, right? Like like they gave him the character and he played the character. Like that's you can tell him. That's what I like.
Yeah.
But no, with that too, Scott even said he's like he made the movie too fucking long. And Scott's really in his old age. Really, Scott has definitely said some outlandish things recently, especially with Raised by Wolves when he's speaking about what do you tell critics if they had stuff. And he's like, I tell them fuck you and fuck you too and fuck that. Hey, I was reading, I was like, I can't believe I'm reading this. I get where he's coming from though.
I've got a joke with a friend of mine similar to yourself that when Ridley Scott's interviewed about his career and he's smoking a cigar or whatever, he always increases the number of commercials he made. Whenever he talks about, you'll see it next time he interviews. I've done 2,000 commercials. Then it's like 4,000. I think he's taking the piss. I really do think because he has made so many, and I'm really interested to see his newest thing set in France. That looks really interesting.
Oh, there's so much great stuff coming over there, but that's what I'm scared of though. Because after I went and saw Tenet, I was like I hope Dune is not this like like after what we've got from that director, who like, I already consider to be amongst the masters.
I think he's elevated himself above the likes of Nolan now because his
even
stories
Enemy. When I watched Enemy, I was like, yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. And it's almost like the same path Nolan took with Memento, right? And like I know the following beforehand, but with Memento and Enemy, I could see how they play hand in hand. They both ended up almost in the same kind of realm of directing. But with with Daniel Villeneuve, the Dune, like I really hope he did it justice. Like I just like not just like even to the book, that's fine and everything, but I know he does. He's amazing. Everything I watch is amazing. But yeah, I definitely don't want another 10. I don't want to go into the theater, come on and be like, well, that was a good. It's like watching Prometheus when Scott did it. I was like, that's a fantastic science fiction movie. Unfortunately, it's going to suck balls now because he decided to put it in the alien universe. But I mean, it's a fantastic science fiction movie. And that's what I'm scared about with Tenet too. Is like when I saw it, I'm like, that's too bad. It's a Nolan movie. It is a good action movie, but it's horrible now because I know Christopher Nolan. That's what pissed me off.
Absolutely. So what I wanted to suggest to you, we've got so where are you kind of in production at the moment?
We're just trying to finish up in post right now. We had a few pickups that we were going to do to change some things around. Not really change around, just make because Bill, now that with the pandemic and everything's increasing, we're gonna do a lot more voice work with Bill. So we're just doing
great.
We're gonna pick up and post production. So like we need people for like just assembling a team. We have an editing team. It's the same Marie. With the South being how it is, like I said in Toronto, it's so unpredictable now. We at the end of the day, like I want to cut the film. What I usually do is an assembly cut, and then I have greater minds than myself actually complete it for me and sound mix. Like you said, sound to me is absolutely must. Should be
on an indie or budget or actually no, for any film, sound's important. Like just one little comment about Tenet. It has got an awful mix, and like the plastic masks. If you're straining to hear, I went to see it in IMAX. If you're straining to hear what the lead actor is telling you, then there's a real issue.
First of all,
unless you're Hitchcock and you're shooting through a window in a florist and there's a character across the street and you're not supposed to hear what they're saying, then that's fine. But if you, it was just an absolute.
No, I even found that in a scene when they're going backwards and fighting, that the gun going backwards. Like I know it's in reverse, but a lot of the stuff that like was happening, I was like, it just the sound mixing and the way it's coming around, it's absolutely horrible.
It's a horrible experience. Yeah,
I wish I was able. Like I should have saw New Mutants. Did
you ever hear the original Bane audio?
No.
Well, they do with Bane. I went to see Mission Impossible, and we'll go back to your film just in 1 sec.
Oh, no, that's cool.
I went to see Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol on IMAX in Manchester, and it's one of the best IMAXs in terms of the size of the screen. It's a real IMAX. It's not one of these branded IMAX screens like so many of them now. And it was before the film started. They had the opening for Batman Dark Knight Rises. I thought fantastic. The guy from Carcetti from The Wire, a Little Bird in Game of Thrones in the scene, fantastic. And it looked amazing. It's incredible in IMAX, that scene. And when he gets on the plane, you cannot fucking hear what Bane's saying. It's on YouTube. You can hear the comparison, the two scenes.
Check that out.
And it's god awful. And you can see where this is from. I don't know what the hell he's doing in post. How is a studio allowing that to happen?
No, I know. I don't think you and I are allowed to like have conversations anymore because I go on forever with you two. You're already putting my 20 years. I don't know how much like he is like worth at Warner Brothers, but like I'm in the same boat. Like who's overlooking this that they're okay with what's coming out at the end of the day?
Probably I'd be like,
I'd be like, this is fucked. Like
because his wife's the producer with him, which is great. Yeah. I understand, dynamic, fantastic, but it's like no one's saying no to him at all.
That's what I'm saying. Is like when my theory was I don't think Warner Brothers tried to bury him. I think he was arrogant enough to be like, my film will save cinema during a pandemic.
Yeah.
And I was like, your film's not going to save cinema right at all, unless like. And I thought Mulan was. I'll be honest, because the Chinese market until that turned into a political thing.
That was a mess.
But I thought for sure Mulan could have been the one that brought back theater, not Tenet though. Why Warner Brothers even pulled let's do it. I was like, oh man, you guys are working so watered. Like you're bringing in 23 million over a weekend in the States. Like, oh, like,
Yeah.
and when I went there, I went with my partner, her mother, and we were the only people in the theater. I was talking to the guy, and I was like, "It was crazy. Let's just say, I can stay open." He's like, "To be honest with you, in Canada, Tenet is the highest grossing opening weekend in Canada of every single Christopher Nolan movie previously released." And I'm like, "That can't be
That
true
tells
for
you
The Dark
something
Knight."
really bad, right?
Yeah, and I was like, "Well, that can't be true for The Dark Knight. There's like that can't be even close
Can't be
to
right.
that
Can't be
number."
right. Can't be.
And he's like, "No, I'm telling you, for our chain, our region, Tenet has been the biggest Cineplex release of all Christopher Nolan's films."
That's not a good thing.
And I was like, that's what I was saying. I'm like, that's not a good thing. Either your boss is telling me to say this right now, so I feel comfortable not to sit in this theater during a pandemic to watch the film.
Yeah.
But no, that's what they were telling me at the theater. Anyways, I was speaking to the manager. So
I just wanted to ask you about just to take it back to your film. I wanted to ask you about the Foley mix. So with your audio and the mix, how does that work in terms of handing that work over?
now,
Is it like a Zoom daily chat, or how does that work?
with the Foley stuff currently, like mostly right now too, it's just from when the pandemic, like I said, it goes from we're ready to roll, and then the entire production shut down again, right? So it's like it happened in BC. So I have like a small team that I work with out of Toronto. So anything you've seen of my marketing, that's basically me one man. Like I won't lie on that, right? Like I have to put some stuff out and then send it down and have it completed. But since I'm doing pickups, I work with a few people. Now the Foley I do, which is funny. Like I said, I maybe touch my nails a little bit, so I enjoy having things on touch. So in one short film, I had this like when I was a student, and I took it and read it myself and released it. I released all my student stuff. It's got its camera on the table, and I must have sat there for like 3 hours for my ER and everybody just watching this thing, right? So I mean, it's quite the thing. I have a DJ from Hamilton. This gentleman Jan from Costa Rica. I have a few people that worked locally, well, not locally, I don't know what 8 hours from Toronto, Black Fawn Films and stuff, who help out with the sound effects and Foley and stuff like that. The actual Foley team itself, like I said, we're in post of the assembly cut, looking at people that we can send virtually, color correct, bring it back. I watch and send back and do all that stuff while we're doing our pickups in between. But to assemble a team where I can actually drive down, we're like, for example, I was going to do some stuff this weekend too, and get some other stuff out of the way. And it's at the point now where it's like either like you have the time to spend with Thanksgiving with your family because you don't know if Christmas can happen after we go back in quarantine. So we're taking a lot of that into consideration too for everyone that's on set. So I love like when I get to the point to actually organize, and I always have the same people I work with because I enjoy like working with them. Like Peyton Cavill, he's just going to supervise the editing. Like he won't be editing. I'm actually want to do my own assembly cut because I'm still one of those people that still have that like slow burn Cronenberg, Kubrick, like slow, like not slow burn to the story, but where the cuts can be held for a while. Or then cut really fast, like not like a 72 cuts and out Hitchcock static. Like I just have that. I don't mind that little bit of slow pacing as long as the story is at a good pace. Where now you get that Edgar Wright, Shaun of the Dead cut, right? Where it's like boom, 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 boom. Here we go. Now let's move on with all this now, right? And I still enjoy the linear telling of like the story. So that's why I'm taking the time to do it myself. And then it goes off to people who are better than me. And I keep Final Cut, but they change it around. Like even my last The Woods That Made Me, I just saw cut, and it was completely different than my assembly in certain aspects of it was making. So
that's what I liked. That's what I liked about that shot of the twitching hand, because if it obviously it's on a loop, you can keep watching it, but it feels like a continuing shot.
Yeah,
that's what I love about that, and you've got to give it. That's one of the first things you learn when you go to film school or production is don't be scared of staying on the shot. And more power to you for doing for this early marketing, because I've really enjoyed seeing some of the little sneak peeks. And
I've never been the kind of person that let's take advantage of the quarantine, right? I'm always like, and that's what I'm trying to say about Nolan too, which scared me. And with a lot of movies we talked about, like my biggest fear when I had to write papers and like when my film teacher taught me, like my biggest fear in film is watching something I made and not like knowing that I made, like not feeling myself inside the film. It's my biggest fear. Like I will toss out every hard drive that sits on my desk before I would show someone else. If I looked at it and was like, no, that's not a Douglas Senior movie. This has to go away. So that's why like, I'm not afraid to hold that shot, because I know like I will hold it to get what I want. And believe me, if this was the 70s, I'd break down a lot of actors and do the Fincher Kubrick 200 take thing until I learned to snap. Man.
Like, you'll turn out like those actors will turn out like Shelley Duvall in The Shining.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm like. I mean, I'm not doing the Ron Howard. I'm like, I mean, sometimes on any schedule, yeah, you are doing 2-1, but I mean, like, no, it's definitely changed nowadays. But I'm that direct, like, I'll hold the shot, or even if I just like, we're going through, you know, we've done our over. Say you're in dialogue, scene, and both your over the shoulder shots. We go, your inserts and you pick up. So you have this one really idea for one do a slider shot. So after I'm done doing it, I'll just hold the medium close up. I'm like, you know what? I'll let him finish this all. I won't call cut. Let him finish this all. And now I have another 3 minutes of an MCU that I never had before.
That must be quite a fascinating thing to see how actors continue that, where they think the cut's going to be. And
we speak immensely. Like on an indie set, I find that like you have to remember the shit's gonna go sideways every single day, or at least once every week. Like
weather
it's hard.
And logistics, everything.
Yeah, anything, right? Like anything can happen. So when I talk to them too, I'm like, listen, like we've been through this 100 times. We've gone through a block and we talk, we do all this, but like when you show up on set, like I expect you to have the exact same professional approach as I do. When you show up on set, you can expect that every shot I take is going to look good for me and you. And that's because that's my job as a director and what I've done with you all the time. So now when you show up on set, I don't expect to see, like, say, Sarah show up on set. I expect to see, like, Eve show up on set. And if you're not a method actor or whatever, that's fine. But what I mean is if I say, okay, now, that using the basic, you're mad. It's not Sarah's mad, Eve is mad, because I never know what can change. So you have to know this character inside and out, and that's why we've been over it for so long. So I have to be able to trust you that when I don't call cut, you don't stop. And if you mess up, you keep going. If you say what the hell you have to say, but as long as Eve's saying it and you're not saying it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that shit happens on an indie set, right? So that's why we have good intense talks before we shoot, and we always have a great time.
That's great, man. Something I wanted to offer to you, it's totally up to you or not. I'll make that little offer in just a sec. But Joe Alves, the production designer of Jaws and Escape from New York, who I interviewed about a month and a half ago, who's one of our judges for the Hellbound Horror Festival.
Nice.
And he was telling me, I asked him questions about everything he worked on, because he worked for Hitchcock, Carpenter, Spielberg. So it was like a trifecta for me. And I asked him, when was the last time you saw Jaws? And he was telling me he watched it about 2 years ago at some sort of, was it 5 years ago, the 40th anniversary? Yeah, 5 years ago, 40th anniversary. And it was the first time he had separation when he watched it. He watched it as an audience member. And it was like, he'd never really seen the film. Because
until he saw it as a film instead of seeing it as what his work was, right?
And it was like it was a really famous cinema in LA that he watched it. The one that Tarantino wanted to use for Hateful Eight, and Disney shat on him for that. But anyway, so he loved it. And it was like so many years later. And when you're in it, you kind of really in it, and it's very difficult. That's why. You got to have people you trust when they watch it back as well.
It's funny that you say that, because like I think Jaws and like Jurassic Park during the quarantine were like #1 films at the box office every weekend to drive-ins. But the first time like I had an experience like that in a very small way in comparison to watching Jaws and being like forgetting that you worked on the damn thing. I was finally, one of my films got played in this festival, and my father and I went, and it got sucked for many. We went to this one festival together. My father, he's a fantastic man. He just he doesn't have the filter that most of us should have. So the first couple of films playing, my dad's just like, I don't know what. And I was like, shut up. Right? Plus, he's like bigger than I am by like double height and size.
Yeah.
So we're noticeable people. And then my film comes on, and I'm watching. I remember ending and me being like, "Wow, that was crazy ass looking. Like that looked amazing." And then like no one said anything on it. So there's no clap, no nothing. Everyone just sat there. And then I'm sitting there like, "Come on, Dad, at least say something shitty, right? That's your job, like support your son, right?" And this one guy's like, "Who the hell made that movie?" And I was like, then I started remembering, like, yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember those shots now, right? Like, yeah, be in people. But at first I watched it, I was like, oh, it's amazing. And then there's the next couple of films too, where like even at the same point too, where I was telling the director, we were watching it, and I was laughing so hard. It's a fantastic short And even he was like, yeah, I watched it. And I was just like, couldn't believe everyone's laughing and laughing over it. And it's over. It's like, yeah, no, I can't believe I wrote that. Right? I was like, no, it's crazy. Like, when you sit with an audience and watch it, and even though this is a small little short, you're like, I wrote and like did that. And now when it's over and you realize people are talking and you're just like, yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's a way different experience to see it than it is when you're making it. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Being on a movie like Jaws, he's always probably being interviewed about what he does. I also, though, let's see, this is the last name curse that I have. I can't. I'm pretty sure my name used to be McEwen, then I'm probably Scottish or Welsh or something. But
I think it's Scottish, yeah.
Yeah, with Derek.
It depends how it's spelled actually, because there's a Welsh version, there's a Scottish way.
Well, it's EWEN. That's why I always thought it was like Welsh, because I thought that's what the Welsh version was.
Yeah.
But I know some more Scottish does McEwen too, but this is an A, you know?
Yeah, you might be right about that actually. Yeah.
But you have Derek, man, Dark City. I would the things. Dark City is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, it's like that's pure atmosphere and pure cinema for me.
But like The Crow, I get it. Call classic, I get it.
That was one of the things when I asked Alex Proyas to be a judge on my festival. It was a dream state. Obviously, got Joe Al's production design of my favorite film, and when I wasn't going to go anywhere near The Crow because I know how he feels about the film. He loves it, and it was. Can you imagine going back to a feature film that your lead, who birthed the film, he was the one that bought the rights for the film to be made. It was going to make him a megastar, and then going back to that, I can't imagine even trying to finish it. Like he talked about, I don't know if you saw the interview, but he didn't even do the remastering or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dark City was totally my jam, and he was, talked about virtual sets. He's talked about his newest film. But yeah, Dark City's.
What do you do? And I couldn't believe that it was actually iRobot. iRobot. Yeah. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable in a way that I don't know. I just I can't believe the same. Like Dark City comes from a mind that I personally just 100% gravitate to, because like that's like that man's career is like the career that I would be more than happy. I mean, like The Crow is a little bit outside my scope of things that I like where I am as a writer, but like Dark City, like, oh my God, I can't, like my friend Stosh and I, when we were kids, like he showed me that movie. Like, he's the one that pretty much opened my entire doorway to all movies.
Like when you make a film that it feels like obviously it is it's a dream in many ways. Just creating that, like we go back to atmosphere again. If you can hook anyone in if you get that right. And the setup in that film, like the cast and the performances, I think are absolutely fantastic. And it was a real surreal. Sorry, go on.
It's one of those films, like we were saying earlier, where it's like you are introduced to the rules slowly. And first of all, Sutherland playing that role, like look, but you're slowly introduced to the rules, and it's like now accept it or quit watching, right? And you watch it, and you're like, I'm so glad I finished this movie's incredible.
Yeah, it's and he's been like his social media, his Instagram and his YouTube account is Mystery Clock Cinema, is really great insight to indie filmmaking or the level he's at in terms of the virtual.
I was curious about that.
It's really fascinating stuff. And
I was looking him up the other day, a couple months back, and I was like seeing his own personal account. So I'm like, he has to be somewhere else doing something. So and then all of a sudden you and I started talking, and I saw his name, and I was like, "Oh, I'm telling you, I don't think you and I are allowed to talk. Let's be connected."
Yeah, and that's what I've loved about doing this festival is I feel exceptionally like I got friendly with Joel's daughter, and she said, "Oh, here's his home number. Give him a call in tomorrow, and we'll sort out the meeting." Like, Jesus Christ, I'm calling him his house. It was like I feel like it was an out of body experience.
I was just like this till the next day.
Yeah, and then it was insane because he showed me props from Starman with he was telling me about his original ideas for spaceships for Starman, and I was going, Jesus Christ, my head was going to explode. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I don't think you understand. Like to him, it's like, oh yeah, this is this, and like to me, he understands like what I just sit there like.
Yeah. It's the tapestry that there's stories that I believe in. Do you know what I mean? It's like the cave paintings for me.
Like he shaped me as a person and my career, and now he's just like, here you go, to this, and you're just like.
But then one of the best moments was when I stopped the record, I told him I was going to stop the recording and ask him a question. So I stopped the recording with Joel's, and I said to him, "You can totally say no to this, and if you don't have the time, it's absolutely fine. Would you like to be a judge for our horror film festival?" And he says, "Yeah, that sounds great." And I was like, "Okay, great." We ended the thing. It was all polite. I thought he's going to say no on an email, which I would have understood. He's 84. But he's he's super busy anyway. He's got a lot of sculpture stuff he's doing. But then his daughter sent me an email saying, "I love horror. We both love horror, and thank you so much for asking him." And it was like,
yeah. You're like,
so it was like, I was like, I can't believe the judges I've got. I can't believe it. And like, Proyas is going to be part of a festival thing I do next year as well, which is surreal. And we're curating the films over the next week, and we're going to send them to the judges, and then they're going to make picks. Like Proyas is going to talk about his career and then choose the film and talk about the winners. So you can imagine the winner of that. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's right. When I was looking at your website, so I was like, the person that if they win, it's not even going to be about the. I want it's going to be like the amount of talent you have that's telling them that they're capable of being at this level is insane. Like, you did a fantastic
like 20 years ago, if you'd have told me I was speaking to the guy that designed the shark, did the original sketches for the shark, and the pre-production stuff that he did with Spielberg is unreal. I didn't realize the scope of what he did on the film. It was like the boat, like they completely redesigned the boat, and it just blew my mind. Anyway, what I wanted to suggest to you, Douglas, was if there's anything that we can help market, if there's anything we can help push through what I do through Hellbound, or we've got a live event on the 30th, even if it's just pictures of the film or anything you want for us to market, I'm more than happy to do that for you.
Yeah, on 30th, yeah, maybe we'll. I was thinking, I've been working with my other editor doing some stuff on the actual good sized trailer to actually debut, and I was looking for something to do, and with everything being closed, it's hard to find the proper area to find this. But yeah, no, I definitely would 100% be interested in that. I would make sure
anything at all, even if it's something small, it's absolutely fine.
I'll give you an exclusive one you guys will have.
That's great. On the 30th, we've got our live event, and if there's anything that timing wise, it might be completely off with when you want to release it, or but on the 30th, we've got a series of intermissions between the films, and the Proyas and the Ramsey Campbell, one of the judges. He was Clive Barker's mentor.
Yeah.
So it was. So we've got these intermissions between the sections, and we're showcasing filmmakers that we really like or we kind of connect with that are outside the festival. So they don't have to be part of it, but we're kind of showcasing people's work. So even if it's something to camera that you want to do, anything, there's loads of flexibility. And if it's not possible for anything, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, like a demo reel?
Yeah, we could show a demo reel. If you do a piece to camera saying, I'm Douglas Ewen, and this is, I loved horror, and then you cut to your reel, if you send me that, that can absolutely feature, no problem.
100%. I have tons of great stuff. Yeah, I absolutely, I'd be honored to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I don't know if you saw the judges for the other festival I did, the Isolation Film Festival.
Yeah, dude, you are up to some crazy shit. I
thought I was going to go insane during lockdown.
Yeah, I can imagine being you right now. I'm watching like every roster of everything, and I'm like, at first, I was thinking to myself, like, I don't want to look your name up first. So I'm sitting here, and I know the judges from your other festivals, from this festival, I was reading who you're doing interviews with, and I'm like, I'm going to sit here for as long as I can and figure out if I know this man or not. Because the people who the hell, you're just like, all the people that I want, you have them. Being you must be a complete, just like, sometimes you just forget what you're saying when you're interviewing and talking to these people.
Yeah, because like, the Joels especially, and
when
I was talking about rain machines with Proyas, because I was asking about virtual sets in rain, digital rain, when his actors, how do you recreate that? And when he was telling me all about the rain machines and not having them in certain streets and that in The Crow, I was going, just head was floating away, you know. So
I will do the solid, since you're able to land all this. I'll just do the solid right now. So when Christopher Nolan is on the show, I'm the one who said the most shit, and you were very conservative with saying that it may or may not have been his great piece of work.
Oh no, I will tell him. I told Elijah.
I will fucking tell him.
I fucking tell him because I'm like, that's why I like to build good rapport. Like you know, when you're directing, you want to build good rapport. As long as people know what they're doing, they're working hard, then build a good rapport, relationships continue. That's my thing with obviously the judges, all the filmmakers, yourself, and many other people. But I'll be completely honest. Like if you play poker against me, you'll know what hand I've got because my face just tells you, you know. And
I have that problem.
I went to a thing with a good friend of mine. We used to go to these Comic Con type things in the UK. And there was a Lord of the Rings thing, and I met Andy Serkis and, you know, all these other people. And it's not what I really wanted to do. I wanted to work with these people and actually be involved in filmmaking. But I saw Elijah Wood. There was a huge queue for him. It was the height of Lord of the Rings. The Two Towers was out, mega hit. Yeah. And I really told him how much I fucking hated it. Well, I said it's really not quite as good as the first one. And then so did you not really enjoy it? And I just, when someone asks me, I'll be honest.
I know that's funny actually. I keep this picture because David, who played Art the Clown and Terrifier there.
Oh wow.
David Howard Thornton. So at NerdCon, I had the booth next to Damien, the director who did Terrifier, and David was there as they did the makeup and stuff. So wow. David, outside of the makeup, he's a wonderful man. He's nice, very super awesome, cool guy. You never even you wouldn't put the two together, right? Damien has this hardcore Jersey accent, and his film school was Jaws. So believe me, he would just he can go off of Jaws for I think during the con we had our tables next to each other and Jaws is my film school. Like Rosemary's Baby is a lot of people's film school, right? I'm RoboCop is my film school.
RoboCop! Oh my god! My if someone emails me now, it's can you fly, Bobby? From RoboCop. I captured the audio because I love how dark that is, and that's what we're talking about with 80s cinema.
Well, I can go off on that too because when I heard Neil Bocan dropped out of doing the remake, and they got the guy who just did Little Monsters, and I was like, hey, if I don't get my violence, and I know it sounds bad, but if I don't get my violence, I don't get that 80s tone. I don't and I'm not even saying that because I'm sporting this stuff. This stuff is on my desk all the time. But I'm saying if I don't
I only just realized. Yeah,
those are my 80s. This is like my original NECA. This is my other NECA. This is Evil Twin. You know, but
what is it about motion stop evil in films? When you see that when you're younger, it was so dark, and the kind of low sound it has at Ed 209. Well,
it was the idea that when I heard hearing that Robert De Niro channel the idea of being a crab and eating taxi driver or something too. When I tell people when I read it too, when Guillermo del Toro, I was watching a thing with him, when you make monsters, don't look at other monsters. Think about what you want to take from animals, right? So hearing the same stop motion and have this animalistic personality was terrifying to me as a child. I was like, that was a great choice of where they went with that, right? Yeah. But when we were talking about that, so this picture actually, this is I met them at a HorrorCon. And I already knew who Damien stuff was by then because we've done stuff together, just in convention style. And I went up to David and I was the last one in line. I was like, hey, listen, because he can't talk. He's in his entire outfit, which is more than you think it is. And I was like, you're going to sit on my lap and take this picture. And if you don't, things are going to get real weird around here. And he's just he's going like this, right? And he looks over at Damien and Damien's telling him you're going to sit on his lap. So I made Art the Clown sit on my lap we were together and not scary at all. My mom's like, he's actually not a scary person. He's actually super nice. And then after we all went on and watched No Effects punk band actually at some underground bar here. It's actually pretty good. No, they're good guys too. But speaking about Jaws, you want to talk about Jaws, get Damien there. He will talk about Jaws with you until you go blue in the face, man. That's just
absolutely.
Yeah.
And this has been an absolute pleasure, Douglas. And anything I can do to help in a very small way, even if it's a couple of stills here and there, or anything I can just repost, then I'm more than happy to do it, man.
100%. Shoot me a message and we'll change stuff, and I will make sure you have it. I really appreciate it. I'll put some videos together for you and stuff. And
that's great.
Actually, my AD just came in. I have a meeting with her actually, so I just remembered that too. So she's probably
cool.
listening to me.
Yeah. Well, you have a good day, man.
You too, bro. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.